Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Today I am joined by Kamila Atman, who is an energy healer and professional intuitive based in Australia, specialising in Akashic Record readings, cord cutting, aura cleaning and energy healing. Her journey into this work began over 8 years ago during a period of deep personal searching, and what started as her own path of healing became a calling to guide others through theirs. Kamila holds an advanced certification in energy healing, is attuned to 41 energies across multiple healing systems, and is a teacher at the International Institute of Healing Energy. She's also certified in Akashic Record readings and psychic craft. She works with people ready to explore themselves on a much, much deeper level, those beginning in their spiritual journey or those who feel something bigger is waiting to be uncovered. Let's talk to Kamila. Welcome everybody to The Body's Compass. I'm your host, Matt. I'm with one Kamila Atman today. Kamila, just so the audience can get to know you a little bit and have a deeper sense of, who you are and how, I guess, your being influences your viewpoints on everything we're going to cover today. Can you share an overview what has shaped you as a woman and how you got into energy healing, cord cutting, and Akashic record readings?
Yeah, beautiful. Hi, everyone. So as Matt mentioned, my name is Kamila. I was originally born and raised in Poland. And around 8 years ago, I moved to Australia. And I remember the moment I landed here, I felt a very strong connection to this land. And I knew that something magical was going to happen.
Mhm.
And I didn't have to wait long because my spiritual awakening journey really began here in Australia. So just coming back a little bit to my childhood, I had a pretty strong connection to the spiritual realm from a very young age. As a child, I had quite a few out-of-body experiences that left me puzzled, and I couldn't stop questioning their significance because they felt more real than reality itself. But back in those days, there was not much information about it, so I couldn't just look it up and read up on it. And church was my only outlet for exploring spirituality, so I went all in. And I was looking for deep answers. I was looking for deeper meaning and also qualities like divine love, acceptance, and trust. But what I found instead was fear, and that was very, very heavy. But either way, when I came to Australia in my first week, my husband gave me a book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And that book was a revelation. I just absolutely loved it. And I studied this book religiously every day. I was listening to audiobook, reading it, and I applied every technique from this book. And I think that was a revelation because for the first time in my life, I've experienced what it feels like to be the creator of your reality rather than the follower. So I started visualizing my future, affirmations, and all those sort of things. And what I've noticed is that I started manifesting what I want. Things started landing in my lap. It's like, oh, it works. So that was huge. And that really was my springboard for other modalities. So I dove deep into energy healing, cord cutting, Akashic Records reading, developing my higher senses. So for me, it was a very smooth journey. And that really set me on the path I am on right now, which is about helping people remember who they truly are and really gently help them untangle limiting beliefs. And this is a powerful and beautiful journey because it's all about peeling back layers, layer by layer, until authenticity is what's left. So I'm extremely passionate about this space, and I've been on the journey for quite some time. So yes, that's me.
How old were you when you first got into that book? Do you remember?
Oh, well, I'm 35 right now, so -8. Do your math.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so you read the book when you got to Australia?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it's a
First
powerful
week,
book.
literally first
First
week.
week.
Yeah, and that was powerful. I I just fell in love with this book. Literally every day for months and months, I was reading it every day. I'm not kidding. When I was working in my corporate environment, I had an audiobook, and it just I was so inspired by it. I was like, okay, you know what? I want to finish work and then come back to my manifestation techniques. Amazing.
Camilla, many people see, I guess, energy work as woo-woo or made up, even though
Mm.
literally everything we see and do not see is made up of energy and information. What is your method of connecting to someone's energy?
Yeah. Look, I love this question, and you actually answered half of it because yeah, everything is energy. Everything is information. And it's not a spiritual claim, it's quantum physics, because at the subatomic level, nothing is stable, everything is vibrating. So the question is it whether energy exists or not, it's whether we can consciously access it and work with it. And this is where my experience comes in. Someone said that spirituality is nothing more than physics we have yet to find the equation for. And I truly believe that. And look, I want to start with the fact that everyone has psychic abilities and everyone can work with energy. It's not a rare skill reserved for, selected few. It's like it's like learning to play piano. Everyone can learn to play, but not everyone will be the next Frédéric Chopin. But the skill set and will highly depend on the time that you invest in it and the quality of your training. So a lot of people actually had these gifts and these abilities in childhood, but because these gifts are not nurtured the same way as our physical senses, we're gradually losing touch with them. So think of it like a language you were born speaking, and all of a sudden you stopped using it because no one around you spoke it back. So the ability is there, but it just went quiet. And now, with the right training and with the right environment, you can become fluent again and you can start trusting it. It's like a muscle, it takes time and practice. So, so everyone has this powerful ability. So for me personally, it wasn't like a sudden switch. It was a very gradual process. And I want to mention that because I know quite a few people who had very strong experiences in childhood. Then they shut it down and now they feel a strong pull to come back, but they're afraid of awakening certain skills with them. It's sitting there dormant, but they are afraid. So look, rest assured, like if you spend some time, if you actually decide to go ahead, and I'm big on energy healing and energy work because it will gradually increase those abilities. It's not like a sudden switch. So you can slowly and steadily start awakening those gifts and really get a feeling of, okay, who am I? I am actually the multidimensional being. And once you connect with it, it will gradually open up. So it won't be like, boom, oh my God, I start seeing things, I start sensing things. So essentially, for me, there are different ways I connect with energy of other people. So it depends what I do. So for instance, if I do energy healing, which is a hands-on healing, I mainly connect through my clairsentience, which is about feeling sensations in your physical body and also feeling emotions from other people. And again, this is a very gentle and beautiful process. So you're literally pick up on someone else's emotions. So then this is a signal, this is information for you that, okay, I know what this person is going through. For instance, I might feel a little pressure in my chest, that I know they are bottling up emotions, a little pressure in my legs, which means that I know they might be stuck. So for me, it's clairsentience combined with claircognisance, which is a deep sense of knowingness. And this feeling, our gut feeling that we know something that goes beyond logic. We know it, but we don't know how we know it. So, and we all have it to a certain degree. And with practice, we can become much more aware of it. So it is the same way as you stop paying attention to grammar once you become fluent in a language. So it all takes practice. But when it comes to Akashic Records, it's slightly different for me because I'm more visual, and as I see things, and I know straight away what it means. So again, it's clairvoyance combined with claircognisance. Because essentially we have, all of us, we have 4 higher senses. So clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, and claircognisance. And I just want to debunk one myth, because a lot of people think that in order to be psychic, in order to be a healer, you need to see things, whether in your with your physical eyes or in your mind's eye. And actually that's not true, because you can receive as much information through different senses. And I see that a lot of people are trying to force themselves to see things, and they're frustrated, they give up. Oh, it doesn't work for me. I'm not gifted. But actually it doesn't work like that. So if anyone is looking to develop your skills, I would highly recommend finding out which one is your strongest gift, keep sensitizing it, and keep relying on it. And there are lots of exercises that you can do every day to awaken other skills as well. But there's no point in forcing yourself if it doesn't come to you naturally. So this is how I connect with other energies, with other people's energy. And we all do it intuitively, but maybe we don't know the name for it. But claircognizance, for instance, we all have it. We all have this strong intuition. So again, as I said, it's a muscle. It's like going to the gym. You don't go just once and then expect that, oh, you will have great muscles. No, you need to have certain routine combined with diet and stuff. And this is exactly the same mechanisms for our higher senses. It just takes time and practice and patience, but everyone has it.
Yeah, what came up for me when you were explaining about how to not necessarily learn it, I think remembering for me is more an accurate word, because I remember when I went through my, let's call it, process of tapping in to these, I'm highly clairsentient and clairvoyant. But the word, just for the listeners, the word clair means clear. So if you're clairvoyant, it means clear vision, clairsentient, clear feeling, claircognisance, clear knowing. To have, or to even before they tap into that, there's got to be a desire.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are so conditioned that they just can't, they don't tap into that desire initially to allow those abilities to come through. And they are skills and abilities. Ability is something you're born with, but it's also the skill of fine-tuning that as well. But with any energy and information, it's funny when I hear, the typical left brain individual just sort of dissing it all. And it's like, oh, there's no such thing as energy, or it's the same thing. But, there's an argument for it being the same thing, but also the universal energy needs to be in form. It needs to be formed in order to have an experience and interact with other people, places, and things. And I think a lot of people have that fear of going into it because ultimately they're seeing themselves.
Yeah.
And then you combine that mirror, or what Carl Jung would describe as the divine mirror, and then piling on top of that, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm going crazy because I've been conditioned so far, this way. But as you were saying, it's the resistance. And people, you're saying it's like a muscle. Well, a muscle needs resistance to grow. And we're always going to attract these people, places, and things into our experience. It's like a resonating with the energy and the frequency to give us the information. And you could split that into 2 words, actually, information. But I think a lot of people are really it's becoming cool very slowly. But when I'm saying this, I'm thinking of my parents who would just dismiss it straight away. But
Mm.
it's also that generation that was, you know, maybe there's some kind of resonance of being burnt at the stake,
Mm.
for being a witch. That would have been me in a previous life for sure. Um, but that's just what sort of came up for me, and essentially just tapping into other people's energy, because all you need to do is think of someone, empty yourself, and they can just flood into you.
Mm.
And I know there's a shamanic technique called emptying the bone, and what you're explaining, how you're feeling other people's feelings, doing that with patients, I find, when no one can really diagnose their knee pain or their back pain or their digestive issues or sometimes even their tumor or cancer or whatever's happening, emptying the bone allows you to feel that anxiety or that shame or the guilt or the, whatever's gone on in their experience. But it just really hasn't been digested.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, that's why I'm big on energy healing, because what energy healing does, if you actually embark on this journey, so I'm talking about, let's say, months or even years, when you really work with your own energy, first of all, you become familiar with your own energetic makeup. So you understand yourself first a little more. So there's no such thing as you're going to pick up on an energy of someone else and it will stay with you. No, because first of all, you learn how to work with yourself, and later on, you can support other people and become more sensitive to what is going on. And this is how you become a very powerful healer. So you always start with yourself, and it's a again very gentle process that takes you on a journey. Because let's say that and emphasize that this is a journey. It's not like a sudden switch. Yeah, it happens. You first need to spend some time just understanding yourself, your nature, your fears, your insecurities, and work on it before you can actually develop other skills. And for me, energy healing was a revelation. It was a springboard to other things as well, understanding myself better. So yeah, absolutely. I think this is the right way of just approaching this space. Always start with yourself, because we often ask ourselves like the same question, like, what do I need to do to be healed? What do I need to do to be in a healthy relationship, be wealthy, abundant, etc. Whereas the question should be, who should I be to be, in a good relationship? Who should I be to be healthy, wealthy, etc.? Because the essence of our being is responsible for all the challenges that crop up in our life. So once we understand it, it shifts the narrative, and we look within, because I am attracting certain things. I am the person that is attracting people, events, and circumstances. So that shifts something internally inside your head, and then you become the creator and not the follower.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, and it can only ever come back to you because you're the one who's perceiving it. You're the one who's perceiving everything, and I think people are very quick to point the finger, and not that there's anything really good and bad about pointing the finger, but I think the first step for me is taking responsibility for you
Yes, that is correct.
first. But then also what you were saying about, you can tap into other people's energy and emotions and stuff like that. A lot of people will have that story of, oh, well, I can't do that because then I'm just going to feel what everyone else feels. But then that's kind of like the shadow myth
Yeah.
of that as well. And I think a lot of people getting into we'll call it the healing arts, if you will. And it's about also not having an emotional attachment to other people's outcomes.
Yeah. And you also learn about energetic protection and how to do it, how to hold this space in a very safe way. So you're not left alone. And you will never pick up energy from someone else, and you will feel drained, even if you're an empath. So, I can do a couple of sessions a day and I feel energized after it, even though, let's say, the session itself was pretty heavy. But I am the conduit between those energies. So I'm not using my own energy to heal someone. The energy is flowing through me. So actually, I'm also receiving healing if you think about it. So yeah, I think once you dive into it and you learn about proper techniques and protection and stuff, then you feel more safe in this space and you feel more confident as well. So doing it in the right way, that's why I said that the right training, the quality of your training also matters. If you have like those fears and insecurities about it, absolutely, it can just help you release that. Yeah.
And also, we're not going to attract anything negative
No.
without allowing it
Of course, yeah,
as well.
of course.
Yeah.
That's why inner work matters so much, because
Yeah.
it will not resonate with you if you heal certain wounds. Yeah.
Camilla, can you give us more of a functional definition of what the Akashic Records are and what work, quote unquote, normally involves?
Yeah, sure. This is Akashic Records are my wheelhouse. I love it. I just love doing those readings. So Akashic Records essentially are a giant database. So every soul has its own record in this giant database. And our energy body is transmitting information into the Akashic Records. So every thought, action, reaction, everything is recorded from the moment of when you just started your existence. That's why we can tap into information like past lives, life lessons, soul gifts, place of your first incarnation. And I know it might sound a little bit woohoo there, but this is like a very important part of my reading. I'm checking the place of your first incarnation. We can be outside of this planet Earth, because this is the concept of starseeds, star travelers, where you come here for a certain reason, for a particular reason. And usually the place of your incarnation, the place of your origin, defines your purpose, whether it's individual purpose or collective. So we travel in group of souls. So usually starseeds feel like a fish without water, that I know there is something deeper, and I know that I'm here for a particular reason, but I know it is not my home. So it is the same way as, for instance, I'm Polish. I've been living here for 8 years. And if I will be living here, I don't know, 20, 30 years, like my culture is like, has been instilled inside me. And I will always is a part of me, exactly. So I will feel like this is my place. I love it, but I'm not from here. So this is exactly how starseeds feel. That and they sooner or later they will wake up and they will be drawn to spiritual stuff, exploring something deeper and greater. So according to the Akashic Records, around 25% of the populations are starseeds, and the rest are Earth souls, which means that the first and every incarnation was here on planet Earth. And these souls are very grounded, but not necessarily interested in anything spiritual. So Akashic Records hold the history of the universe. And so, as I mentioned, every person has its own record, but also every animal, event, place, literally everything has its own record. So this is a good place to tap into information about past lives and find a lot of information about it. Also soul contracts. So, if you have a question about, why did I incarnate with this person? Why is this relationship so challenging? And you might find information about it. So one thing that I would not recommend doing in the Akashic Records is future prediction. And there is a reason for that, because future is not set in stone. It's fluid. So we are literally creating and manifesting our life. So it's like, imagine you're in a big mall with lots of aisles, and if you keep going forward you will end up in supermarket, in Coles. But the moment you decide that, you know what, I will turn left, you will never end up in Coles, but you will find another supermarket in front of you. So you're literally, how I see it, you're standing on a big web with endless possibilities, and you're choosing your life with every direction, with every thought and action. So anytime you ask a psychic, whether that's Akashic reading, whether that's tarot, that's oracle card, whatever that is, about the future, anything about the future, the practitioner will tap into your current energy, and based on your current energy will tell you what is the most probable outcome in the future. So let's say if you heard someone telling you like you will, let's say, I don't know, something bad will happen to you in the future, they are literally reading your energy. So if you don't like the outcome of it, just change your current energy, change something within you so you will not attract this outcome. So if you treat it this way, it actually can be very powerful, but it's very tricky as well, because we are planting a seed in our subconscious mind, and we start believing that I'm destined, this is absolutely going to happen. So we start attracting these events into our lives. So this is a tricky part about future prediction, which I would not recommend unless you have a deep understanding how future prediction works. But essentially, Akashic Records is just a wonderful, beautiful place to understand your soul's journey. So I'm more into looking at the history of the soul, looking at purpose, relationship, life lessons, gifts, the place of, the soul group of your origin, rather than looking at something in future. And of course, like any question that you have can be explored. It's just up to you what you're after. But this is a very powerful place.
Is the Akashic records, is that different or the same as the collective unconscious?
Collective unconscious. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
What's that?
The collective unconscious is the culmination of every thought. Basically, just what you explained. The record of every thought that's ever been thought.
Yeah.
Have you read the Ra Contact?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I think you would really love that.
Okay.
It's it's a series of books. It's also on Audible. But they went into a transcendental meditation, and then one of the ladies went unconscious, and a voice started to speak through.
Right.
Who identified as Ra, a sixth density entity.
Okay.
And just question answer. But I think you'd find that absolutely fascinating. Yeah. Ra talks about there's no future per se, but only possibility probabilities. And just as you were saying, you're going along, going to Coles, hopefully the organic section,
Yes.
but you decided to turn left to the farmer's market, which would help everyone. But that's the free will of the entity or the person that allows that to come true or not.
Absolutely. Yes.
And what you experience.
So it sounds about right. Sounds like yes.
Yeah,
This
it
is
sounds
about
very
tapping
similar.
into the
Yeah.
Akashic Records. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and going into the plants and animals, Ra talks about different densities of light. The first density being what we call the etheric elements, earth, air, fire, water, and how they shape the land. Then second density being consciousness, moving plants and animals. And then third density is what we're here now, is where we are becoming aware that we're aware. So a dog doesn't know it's a dog. A fish doesn't know it's in water. So Ra explains we're going into fourth density now, which is more about love and compassion. And isn't it interesting that a lot of things are coming up out into the open right now? And according to Ra, that's part of he calls it, well, Ra calls it, a graduation into the next density. And then from there is light and wisdom, where you're perceiving and projecting everything from a place of light and wisdom. And then going into the sixth density is all about unity. So all paradoxes are solved. And then no one knows what the seventh density and beyond is, because there's no more language. We use words to chunk these ginormous concepts that often transcend human thought into little bite-sized little pieces for us little human minds to be able to comprehend and, bite. but there is a certain point where I don't know if you've ever, we'll get to the psychedelic stuff later, but if you've ever had a psychedelic experience where you're one with everything, there is no words to describe that at all. But our, you know, left brain needs to chunk it down for us to be able to navigate the ego kind of through that experience.
Yeah, and this is a very beautiful time, and I know like so many horrible stuff are happening right now on Earth when you look at it, but from an energy perspective, we see a huge shift. And also, according to the Akashic Records, so many souls want to incarnate right now because the growth they can experience, and they can burn so much karma right now. So this is actually, energetically speaking, a beautiful place to incarnate and to work on yourself, to expand your consciousness more than ever. So literally, like, there is a queue of souls who want to incarnate on Earth, because this is such a good time, energetically speaking, to be here and to work on your consciousness and expand it. Yeah.
Well, Yogananda says that there's 60 billion souls at any given time wanting to incarnate.
Yeah, it's literally,
and to
there's
have
a queue.
human body.
Yes, yep.
To have a human body is the greatest gift.
Yep.
And I mean, if we don't work on our inertia or karma, whatever word you want to use, you're going to come back and do it anyway.
Oh, yeah. I see it all the time when I do readings. So this is really fascinating that souls come back repeating the same lessons on and on and on. I remember I did a reading for a guy. Actually, it wasn't his will. His girlfriend booked the session, so he was more forced into it. That was funny. And I saw that was his, I don't know, 230. He have had 230 earthly lifetimes, and he comes back repeating the same lessons on and again. I was just shocked because, you know, he's not kind of learning the lessons that his soul's designed for him, just repeating it in a loop all the time. And his soul was so tired of it that his soul is seeking transformation, but there is such a big resistance. So yeah, definitely it happens quite a lot.
Many people do work to heal wounds, and often find themselves subconsciously and or unconsciously attaching themselves to the people, places and things that are connecting themselves to said wound, and find themselves repeating unfavorable behaviors like our friend you just talked about over and over and over and over again. What are your thoughts in that regard?
Look, it's I'm really passionate about this topic because this is where I believe psychology and energy healing work together. And in this intersection, it's where pure magic unfolds. So in psychology, this concept, attracting the same wounds, is called the repetition compulsion, which is an unconscious urge to seek out similar traumatic experiences in attempts to process them, replay them, and resolve them. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm just really passionate about it. And I feel like, as I mentioned, energy work needs to go hand in hand with like a deeper mindset work. So in practice, if someone grew up with parents who were abusive, later on they will attract partners who are also abusive. So they are drawn to the same energy, and their brain is trying to reprocess it and reprogram the original experience, but usually it's a vicious cycle. So especially that's true for trauma, because trauma isn't just the memory. So whenever something traumatic happens to us and we don't have a chance to tremble, to shake following the traumatic experience, our muscles can be chronically tense. And our brain that is overwhelmed by this event can only take a portion of what actually happened, is not able to comprehend the full event. So anytime something similar happens to us, even a similar smell, a similar emotion and feeling, our body fires the same alert, the same adrenaline, same contraction, same fear. So what I mentioned that is because these sort of events, especially when we talk about trauma, needs to be addressed with very specific modalities like somatic healing, body-based practices, EMDR, to name a few. I think that you know more than I do in this space, so I would love to hear your thoughts on it. But it's really important that we address trauma, in a very, like, I don't want to say medical way, but we understand what really trauma is. From an energy perspective, because it can be super powerful as well. And I know that a lot of people start with, let's say, spirituality, some gentle practices, which is perfect because I think that it might lay the foundation for deep mindset work that sooner or later would need to happen. But maybe we need some sort of preparation. So from an energy perspective, the method and modality that works really well is cord cutting. So anytime something difficult happens between you and someone else, or can be, you can create actually negative cords with events as well. But let's say with someone else, you create a negative cord, which is called the cord of attachment. So all the things, all the emotions that happened between you and someone else, let's say you broke up with someone and there's a lot of grief, anger, sadness, even like a years after you broke up with someone, there's still this lingering feeling of disappointment. There is this negative cord between you and that person. So think of it like an umbilical cord. So all those energies are flowing back and forth, and you are influenced by those energies. So in order to disconnect, in order to cut the cord, first of all, you need to understand the lessons from this relationship. Why did you come here with this person? I like to look at past lives because I'm pretty big on past lives. I connect with them pretty easily. And they usually show up if there is a significance, like there is a significant event in your past lives that drives this relationship. So you're literally dragging that energy into this lifetime. So, there are lots of meditations that you can find online about cord cutting, but they won't work. They will just connect what we call the psychic ties, which are like a very minor connections that, for instance, we established a psychic tie by just talking. And you can just literally disconnect. And I do it, every day at night before I go to bed, just by my intention, or visualizing white light, or when I'm taking a shower, I'm literally asking, water or just, energy to disconnect. So I come back to my own energy. But the cord of attachment needs to be first understood before we can go ahead and cut it. Because there is a reason, there is a bigger lesson for you to understand why you attracted this event. So only by understanding it, you can proceed with cord cutting. And usually our chakras, our energy bodies are affected by those energies. So let's say once you disconnect from someone, and let's say your base chakra is impacted by this relationship. So let's say the sense of safety, you might feel that you feel more safe within yourself, like in your body. If that's connected to your throat chakra, you might find yourself being able to finally speak up. If that's heart chakra, then you might feel that I have more compassion and empathy towards myself because maybe someone was diminishing you. So it depends. So I'm looking at, what is really affected in your body. And it is a very powerful way that people, it's like, imagine you're in a room, there are lots of radios and each radio is turned on. So it's just switching one radio after another. So you finally hear your own thoughts. You're not influenced by the energy of someone else. So cord cutting can be very powerful in that sense. But the reason why I started with psychology and trauma and these stuff, because I see a tendency of going, let's say, only into one area, let's say, for instance, spirituality, whereas we really have a bigger fish to fry now. Yeah, something really like traumatic happened. And as a soul, we come here to experience life on 4 levels: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And we need to address each level. We cannot just focus 100% on spiritual healing, avoiding deep, let's say, mindset work. Like our body stores trauma, right? So it's just making sure that we combine it all together, and this is how we can get best results. However, of course, I have clients who start with spiritual healing, and then they feel more confident in opening up and digging deeper into what actually happened. So again, combination of everything is super powerful. It's just, really tuning in and feeling what you need right now, but just being conscious of it. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that came up for me when you were talking was, if we can call it the anatomy of trauma. I mean, whether it's a trauma is subjective, right? It's up to the individual. Usually, if it doesn't feel good, we'll associate that with the word trauma. But often what will happen is that you will perceive an event on any level, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and that will be recorded by the cells of the body, so the subconscious. But also consciously, if something happens, we will often put it to the back shelf in the subconscious because we need to survive first. So that's going to be priority one. Can we survive? And we often don't do the shaking out or getting rid of it. So that energy gets stored in the soft tissue of the body, and we wear that subconsciously. And depending on, you could say, the theme of the trauma or the event, if it's creates anger, we're going to store that in the liver because the liver attracts anger, consciousness. If something makes us really anxious, we can draw that into the stomach or the duodenum. And then that can show up in the chakras as the third chakra. It can also affect physically anything on that nerve channel, i.e. digestion, which is going to inhibit the abdominal muscles, which is also going to leave your spine open because it's not stabilized anymore. But someone might come to you for back pain, but it's actually come from that chain of events. But also unconsciously, we always have a default program to go back on. The trick or the trap, if any, I don't know what the word would be. The common thread with that is if we don't have something that we love in our own life that's just for us, that doesn't fill up our own cup, we do fall back into that default setting, which is often kind of like the child archetype. And then we perceive the trauma or the event at the psychological age where we were at when we went through our first stressful event. So for most people, it's under the age of 12. So then you could be a 40, 50, 60-year-old, older, younger adult living their life, going through an event, a traumatic event, and then all of a sudden your 6-year-old hears and perceives, and that's their base platform from there. And that's where I like Carl Jung's definition of magic, which is using the unconscious consciously. And only then, when we can work with that, or understand it, accept it, ideally love it, then what we want in life will actually be able to recognize. Because once people go through a trauma, they shut themselves down, and then what they need or what they want is right in front of them, but they just can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I did some research into clairvoyance way back in the day. I went down several rabbit holes and ended up looking at pyramids or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I found some stories of when Europeans came to Australia, for example. A lot of the indigenous couldn't see the ships because their mind couldn't comprehend a big vessel sailing across the world to get to them. So they physically couldn't see it. So the eyes are never going to see what the mind can't comprehend, which I think ties really interestingly into everything we're talking about.
And again, I know I'll repeat myself, but this is where energy healing really works nicely, because, and the way, when I say energy healing, I'm talking about working with energies from different dimensions. Let's say when we take Reiki as an example, like Reiki is a very, I don't want to say basic energy. I don't want to like diminish Reiki. It's just Reiki works on the physical and etheric level, so it's nice for relaxation and stuff. But there are energies from a much higher dimensions, and they are of a much higher vibration that can actually penetrate energy bodies that are connected to your past lives. And you can start having those flashes and memories of things that happened to you that are influencing your choices and behaviors, etc. And only after you do this sort of work, you can tap into subconscious healing. And I remember on my own journey after because I've been on the journey, like I've been doing my own healings for 2 years, 2 years every day, deep energy work, religiously every day for 2 years. And only after like a year and a half, I could start working with my subconscious mind, energetically heal the subconscious mind. And as you said, there are so many layers into it. Like we store information and we store memories that I only could access it after, let's say, a year and a half of deep healing. Because like certain things, we push them so deep into it, into our subconscious mind. But again, this is the only one way to really understand what is influencing our life, and unpacking it is one of the most liberating things a human being can experience. So yeah, and probably you connected with the Akashic Records, when you said about pyramids and stuff, because we do it, yeah. So this is literally Akashic Records hold the history of the entire universe, so you can access information about what really happened. And yeah, and most of the books that we read, which are based on channeling, are from Akashic Records. Which is maybe we don't call them like Akashic Records, but this is pretty much that.
But even the authors that wrote these mind-blowing books, like all of Carl Jung's stuff, Nikola Tesla, Rudolf Steiner, they were getting that from somewhere.
Yeah.
So
they couldn't name it, but they said that it was just flowing. It was just flowing. And sometimes even, we all have it, but we perhaps don't pay attention to it. But I often, during my sessions, I feel that something is controlling what I'm saying, or I'm just disconnecting. I'm talking, and I'm like, how did I know that? Like, where did it come from? Sometimes it can happen for a couple of seconds, sometimes minutes, and then I come back, and I cannot recall it like with my mind, but I was literally saying something, and that was a penny dropping moment for the other person. But they just had to hear it. And I just, whenever I have a session, I set my intention that I always do it for the highest good of the other person. And I allow the energy to just flow through me, use my voice, use my energy, use my gesture to help them to awaken inner healer within them so they can start their own process. So it can happen. And yeah, this is
essentially you were channeling.
Yeah, I'm channeling. Correct. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Which leads nicely into the next question. So as you know, having a conducive environment that supports healing can go a long way into helping someone into their journey. But a lot of people don't realize that they're also being influenced by other people's thoughts and emotions that often weigh us down, thinking and believing that it's our own thoughts and emotions weighing us down. Can you share your experiences?
Yeah, and that's especially true for empaths. Because empaths are not just sensitive, empathetic people. Their energy field is wide open. They are like a sponge, absorbing energy unconsciously, automatically. So for them, having right and healthy environment is so important, because if they are surrounded by people who love venting, gossiping, and complaining, what's really happening is that person that is complaining feels uplifted after meeting with empath, and empath feel their energy just goes down. They feel drained. And sometimes it can take a couple of days to shake off after this experience. And for empaths, actually, it's so important for them to protect their aura, protect their space. I've actually wrote an article about it, and I recorded like a 7-minute meditation, which I released, which is like very helpful especially for empaths. It takes literally a couple of seconds to protect your aura, set boundaries, especially before meeting with people, or just I do it every day before I go out Just, this is my sacred space. I don't need anyone's energy. I welcome, your energy. I welcome you in my space, but your energy, I don't need it, because I want to keep this healthy boundary. So absolutely, environment matters, but also the right energetic protection. And what I see when I do my aura reading and I'm scanning someone's aura, I see that in the lower energy bodies connected to the sacral chakra and solar plexus chakra, so the lower mental, lower emotional bodies, there are lots of what I call negative thought forms and emotional residues. So every time, let's say, you interact with someone, or maybe your partner is pretty like is diminishing you, or is telling you, oh, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, then this energy is piling up to the point that it creates like a cluster of energy, and then you believe that this is true. So yeah, I'm stupid, and you have the same narrative, but this is not your energy. Someone else projected that onto you. You can also create your own negative thought forms if you keep repeating the same mantra, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough. So that's the same thing. So what energy healing does, and what I do with my auric healing, is that we remove those energies. So it's like you took a shower, but it's very important that you don't jump straight into dirt, but you go on mental diet, you keep working with your mindset, you keep telling yourself only good things. So very often what I see especially for empaths, because they literally, there's just such a beautiful gift to be empathetic, but at the same time is a burden if you don't know how to manage this energy properly. But once you know how to do it, it's amazing. I think one of the most talented and beautiful healers are empaths, because they can connect on much deeper level with someone else. It's just a lot of people do not enter this space because they feel like, I don't want to feel your energy. I don't want to feel drained. But actually you won't if you know how to do it properly. So just wanted to emphasize it, because I know quite a few people who just are a little bit resistant. They have a pull, but they're resistant. So yeah, the right technique is absolutely key if you want to enter the space. But yes, so if, let's say, empaths are not maintaining the healthy boundaries and working with the energy, it's like the aura is cluttered. It's like trying to look through a dirty window. The view is there, but it is distorted. So once you start clearing, especially the lower energy bodies, which are connected to base, sacral, and solar plexus chakra, then you feel like a big relief, like, okay, I come back to my own energy. So this is what I observe mainly when I do aura reading and clearing. Yeah.
It's interesting you say the lower chakras, because the lower chakras activate the brainstem, which is our reptilian brain, which is which I think 90%. No, I think the reptile on average only has 10% emotional capacity. So someone who's stuck in those lower chakras and their brainstem, effectively, they won't have the capacity for anyone else.
True.
And then as you move up the chakras, you springboard into the mammalian, which is chakra 4, 5, 6, which is more the empathetic, compassionate for yourself, hopefully first, and then the other, and then the 7th chakra being divinity itself.
Yeah. But my view is that first thing first, we should address our lower chakras before we can expand and go up. So spending some time really clearing the content of our energy bodies, focusing on those chakras, for me is key. It's just, if you picture a majestic tree, with a vast crown, just look at its roots. Roots go deep into the earth and are spread, everywhere. And when the wind comes, it's stable. So this is the same for us, that first focusing on the lower chakras, making sure that we do it right and we have the right foundation to build our castle. We cannot build a castle on the sand, right? So this work is so important that we have it covered. So that's why energy healing, if you really embark on this journey properly, it will take months, if not years. But when you do it right, it's then you're very stable, you're very grounded. And yes, definitely, like those chakras store shame, guilt, right? They are responsible for all the financial problems, for safety, security, prosperity. So, and this is all connected to this earth. And, we came here to experience this life in this, this body. So skipping it, it's actually not going to bring happiness long term.
But also, I think once you do clear those, you have the capacity to handle the other stuff as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Because that energy has to go somewhere. And I remember Carl Jung said, there's no tree that can reach to heaven without roots that go to hell.
Yeah.
But we correlate heaven and hell with something more spiritual, where in reality it's between the left ear and the right ear. And I mean, heaven is what you make it, hell is what you make it. And interesting, as you know, I've been studying German. Hell in German means bright. So you're welcome, everyone, for that little useless information. So just for the left brainers, can you explain what our auras are, what the function is, and how they interact with surrounding energies?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned already, we have 7 main chakras. We have more chakras, but let's focus on the main ones. And each chakra is responsible for a certain area of our life, like base chakra is safety, prosperity, stability, finances and stuff. Then moving up, we have sacral chakra, that's emotions, inner child connection, and so on. I won't go through all of them, but each chakra holds specific function, and each chakra is also connected to a specific energy body. So, and our energy bodies create our aura. So our aura is a multi-layered field that, and our aura communicates with the external world before our mind can comprehend what's going on. So in practice, I'm sure you can recall a situation when you entered the room and there was nothing wrong, but you felt that something is off. So that was your aura reading the energy of this room before something happened. And the same if you meet someone and all of a sudden you feel a strong connection, that it just clicked the moment you looked at them. So that is again your aura communicating with the aura of someone else, and then you just pick up on those energies. So especially empaths are sensitive to this sort of thing. So let's say if there is a person and they might be very nice and there's nothing wrong with them, but they just went through some challenges and their aura is just literally cluttered, then they might feel very overwhelmed by the energy of that person. That's why, clearing and making sure that we are working on ourselves is so important, because then we are raising our vibration and we can communicate with other people in a much easier and safer way as well. So this is our aura. Our aura is just a way for us to communicate energetically. And we all have it, even if, we don't believe it, it's there. And I gave those 2 examples because I'm sure everyone experienced that. So this is how it works on an energy level.
Well, even plants and animals have auras.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yes.
Even buildings have auras.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the people that built the buildings have their energy into the material.
Yes. And there are what we call, because empathy, there are lots of different types of empathy. There is, let's say, place empathy. So there are people, because empathy is not something you can develop. Either you have it or you don't. So you're born with it or not. So let's say if someone is place empath, because I'm checking this information in the Akashic Records as well. So place empath, this gift is pretty nice. I mean, it's really interesting that someone can enter a building and all of a sudden feel the energy of this place or have certain memories about what happened here. So even they look at the photo of a place and they can immediately pick up on energy. The same thing with, let's say, if someone is animal empath, they can communicate with animals and really understand, let's say, what they're going through And so this is kind of like your energy field is merging with the energy field of this building of animals or plants as well, because you can be a plant empath as well. And you can feel the energy of a plant. I remember I had a client and she was plant empath and she was, oh my God, I thought I'm going nuts. Because when I was like touching this tree, I literally started hearing stuff like random things, or I need water, or I need this, and it gave her just validation that, oh, I didn't know that something like that exists, but I literally connect with plants. So yes, it exists. And that's a gift that we have, and we cannot develop that, but yeah, it's really interesting.
That's also, you could it's a soul contract with the plant.
Yes,
Or nature.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting.
Camilla, I've got a question that I haven't sent you that's just come to me. Past lives. How does a past life kind of work? Because as we perceive past lives in linear time in this reality, when we leave this reality, we go into a time space where there's no linear time per se. So how does that work?
Yeah, so look, there's no past, there is no future, it's only here and now. So really everything happens now. So honestly, if you want to heal and address past lives, I think you can, there's no one way of doing it. I believe that if you work on yourself, if you work on your mindset, on your beliefs, on your fears, insecurity in this lifetime, you're already healing your past lives. Because anything that happens to you right now is an echo from your past lives. So this is really powerful to understand those stories, because then you see, you have so much validation. Oh, I understand why, let's say, I'm behaving this way, or why I'm attracting these people, or why I'm just stuck in this vicious cycle. So by just understanding those energies, you can have more compassion and empathy towards yourself. And then you can look at your relationship slightly differently. So that's one aspect of it, because I feel like for people who are more into mindset work, not necessarily for, let's say, past life regression, energy healing, that's a good news that you don't need to necessarily dive into those woohoo stuff, what we call woohoo, and go to la la land, to heal it. But actually you can be very grounded and do this mindset work, and that works magic. And another way of doing it is energy healing, and to working on your soul body. And because our soul body holds the memory of anything that happens to us, and past life regression as well. So you can come back to certain memories and heal them by being in a deep hypnosis, etc. How I do it is just by working with energy of a much higher vibration that can reach this layer of your being, because as I mentioned about energy bodies. So every energy body holds different sort of energies. Like lower energy bodies will have mainly energies from this lifetime and from whatever happened here. But as you go up, those energies will store history and energies from past lives. So you can really understand it and start healing it with energy. So for me, let's say, I had pretty heavy past lives. And the reason why I also stepped into it is because I remember when I was a child, I told my parents that I have something, I feel such a heavy burden, but it's not from this lifetime, because I had very happy childhood, nothing traumatic happened to me, but for some reason I feel this heaviness. And when I started working my past lives with energy healing, I had profound results. I had like lots of purging happened, and all of a sudden I felt, oh my God, it's just like something just released from my body. And when I did that, I started connecting with past lives like this, almost at will. So it was really, really interesting. But as I said, there's no one way of connecting with it. But essentially, everything is happening here and now. It's just, our circumstances and relationships are really telling us what's the trauma, what really happened to us. And if you don't mind, I will bring one example from my client. It was like really interesting for me. She asked just, I want to explore my past life. She didn't have any specific question. She just wants to understand what happened. And when I tuned in into her Akashic Records, I saw that I was taken to her perpetrator lifetime when she was, it's pretty sensitive, but she was raping someone and she was like a part of a gang and stuff. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, so why am I seeing it? Tell me. And then, because in Akashic Records, you need to be very specific. That's why right now, when someone asks me questions, I usually come back and I really dive deep so I understand, so I can derive like the gold from it. And I was told that she will know. Just tell her that this has happened and she will know. I was like, okay, so I would take it. And then I told her about this past life and she started crying. And she told me that all her partners, everyone, and she's been in quite a few relationships, have been raped. And in her family members also experience that. So she is surrounded by victims everywhere. So this is her soul balancing karma. That and I know it's might sound controversial, but our karma needs to be rebalanced, and we rebalance it by experiencing the opposite. But in her case, she is exposed to victims, so she understands the pain of someone going through that. And this is how her soul is balancing it out, because she is supporting her family members. She is right now supporting her partners. And she's overwhelmed by it, but she's the first person for them that they feel safe around her. So, yeah, if that's just answers also.
You could say that the soul's got a wicked sense of humor.
Yeah.
So I'm understanding that past life it's really a label more than anything. So I understand that. So it's really just parts of your consciousness tuning into different aspects of yourself.
Yeah. And look, so imagine that, let's say you have 100% of your karma. There's a bank, right? You have 100% of your karma. So it's not like you incarnate here and you take, okay, this 100%, I will work on everything. No, it will be too much. Let's say you decide that in this lifetime, I will work on, let's say, 15% of it. And you decide like what life lessons you would choose based on this karma. And yes, and you choose and attract circumstances based on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. So it's always the mechanics of it, as I've always been curious about. That does make a lot more sense. Yep. Kamila, there's a bit of a psychedelic revolution among us, as I'm sure you know. Psychedelics function as bringing the unconscious into the conscious awareness, and most people are using them as a party drug. So what effects have you seen with psychedelics and people's energy fields?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. First of all, I think that plant medicines are sacred. They've been used by indigenous cultures for thousands of years, and not for recreational purposes, but for deep transformation, for deep healing. And look, I haven't had my own experience, so what I'm about to share is just from a position of a practitioner. And the reason why I haven't had my own experience is because I believe in a deep calling. I believe that medicine will call me if the time is right. Having the right intentions also really matters. And I do not follow like trends, okay, because this is trendy right now, or my friend had a great experience, so yeah, I'll go ahead and do the same thing. I connect with my body, connect with my intuition, and I know that looking at my life, it would just happen, I would just attract certain situation. But yes, so far it's not my path. But I've seen quite a few people after plant medicine, so I will talk from that space. So in the spiritual community, I see that more and more people are using plant medicine as a shortcut to states they haven't yet earned the capacity to hold. So they arrive at profound visions, they have amazing insights, I have no doubts about it. But when they come back to their ordinary life, they don't have mechanisms to digest what they have received. So the wisdom is there, sitting there unintegrated. And because the ordinary consciousness feels dull and flat, they have a strong pull to come back, to feel this intensity again. So they come back not always to heal, but to feel this intensity. And what I see is that, let's say later on, they try more gentle modalities. If put it this way, let's say energy healing, the expectation is that they will experience those rainbows and unicorns. And my thing is like, what's the real intention behind it? Is it to feel the intensity or really to learn something? So my question that I ask, and for anyone listening that resonates, would be, does your wisdom awaken change? So anything that you experience during your process, what happened to that? Does your wisdom awaken change? Are you actually becoming a better version of yourself because of what you experience? Or is just about this intensity, about this powerful experience? Because our ego says, oh, okay, so I have more insights, I'm learning. As I'm learning, I understand it, so I don't need to change. But this is a trap, because in spiritual study, the fact that you know something means absolutely nothing. What are you doing with the wisdom? Is it making any change in your life? So that's, and when it comes to the energy, well, it's tricky because the upper chakras are wide open, but lower chakras are just shutting down. So wow, and it's massive. Like these chakras are just, and what happens is that literally the part of your consciousness is traveling to different realms. And if you don't do it in the right way, and if you enter the space being ungrounded, then what happens is that your consciousness will be a little bit stuck in the astral realm, in the upper realms. So what happens that you might be only drawn to spiritual stuff only. You want to read about spirituality only. You only want to have friends that talk about spirituality. You feel disconnected with anything that is from 3D. Like, you don't want to have corporate job. You don't want to talk about money and material stuff. You feel very disconnected. And this is a huge trap, actually. I remember I attended a breathwork event, which I love. Breathwork is a great practice. And after the event, we had a couple of minutes to mingle. And I started having chat with two girls. And they said, the energy felt pretty flat. And they said, oh, a couple of weeks ago, we had ayahuasca ceremony. And like, it's so hard to come back. And they said they have performance problems at work. Their relationship is just becoming very difficult. They don't want to hang out with their friends. They're only looking for events that give them the same height. So as I said, I think it's, I'm not saying that this is not the right modality. I feel it's a really powerful way of connecting with higher realms. But when you really study how indigenous culture approach it, they do fasting, they do lots of different rituals, like a preparation before they can enter this space. And I feel right now is just, oh, let's just do it, Let's go and...
I know a lot of tribes used to use psychedelics as a rite of passage.
Yes.
Where they would sort of, I don't want to use the word drug them up, but, for a lot of people listening, that's essentially what they did. And put them on the edge of a cliff and built a circle around them and said, don't leave the circle for a couple of days. And if they survived that, they were called a man or a woman.
Yeah.
But it's so true what you were saying. There's a saying that, I can't remember who said it, but they said to achieve enlightenment, you can either sweep the chapel floor every day for 7 years or do one hit of DMT. So there's the cheap shortcut way, but there's also that integrative way. I think the people that do it the party way, like it's really easy from that place to kind of fracture the psyche.
Yeah.
In a way, because often people that I see, putting it nicely, they spend too much time in their heavens to be of any earthly use.
Yeah.
I'll just say it that way. And people realize that, yes, we are spirit, and I've said it on the podcast many times, but I'll say it again, that people do the psychedelics and the breath works and the meditations and the retreats and all that kind of stuff to escape being human and connect to spirit.
Yeah.
Not realizing they are spirit already. And there's an animal body we need to take care of.
Yeah. Yep.
As well. They need to be integrated. And, you know, some of the stuff that they might see on plant medicines, some of it might be scary, some of it might be just weird and you can't really put words to it. But that's how the psyche communicates, in symbols and metaphors, and same as our when we dream, we often communicate symbolically. But we get this information, then we translate it literally, which hasn't worked that well. Or
yeah, and look, grounding is very important before you step into this. Let's, as you said, we remember that we came here to experience this life. It's not about disconnecting from it, but it's about becoming a better version of yourself in this human body. So it's like, if you really, like, let's say you want to jump out of a cliff. Like, if you want to jump out of a cliff, you want to make sure that you have parachute, you know how to like calm your nerves. You probably have someone that helps you out, rather than just jumping out of it with no parachute, just hoping life will catch you. So this is how I would describe that. Sometimes psychedelics might take you at the edge without proper preparation, and then it will be really hard for you to come back. I don't even want to start about practitioners who are hosting those sessions in a very unsafe way. I had a client who's literally lost some part of their soul during this event, and then you need to have like shamanic process to retrieve those parts of your soul, and these stuff are real, and like what people are going through, the nervous system, they're out of balance, they cannot like sleep, they have nightmares and these sort of things. So just let's be mindful of it, and also respect the tradition, because this is a sacred practice. This is a sacred way of connecting with higher realms. And I believe that, and my piece of advice will be to spend some time grounding yourself and before you step into this field, and always listen to your body. Because if you ask yourself, like, is it right for me or not? You don't need to be psychic to feel whether it feels comfortable or not. Am I following trends? Or maybe, you know what, this is not the right time and space. Your body will never lie.
Yeah, it's funny you were talking about the cliff, because I had a patient years ago who almost died because he took some medicine and he believed with every fiber of himself that he was a bird.
Oh, no.
And he actually tried to jump.
Right.
Because he thought he was going to fly. And that understandably messed him up a little bit. And a couple of years later, I met him, and he wasn't in a good way. But then when we did some work and I was able to translate what his psyche was trying to communicate to him, it put everything into perspective from him. He felt a little bit sort of silly that he felt like he'd wasted the last couple of years of his life.
Yeah.
And I was like, you didn't waste, you were just learning.
Yeah.
And now you've learned. So what are you going to do with your new wings?
Yes.
And yeah, he's doing fine now, but that's just an example of how dangerous it can be. And the only difference between a drug and a medicine is dosage. Really. Kamila, this has been a very fun chat. I've very, very much enjoyed this. So as we come to an end, feel free to share any final comments, where people can find you and learn more if they want to explore working with you.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for having me, Matt. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think we touched on quite a few topics. We could only scratch the surface, really. But this is so interesting. And thank you very much. Now, I think I would like to finish up with one of my favorite quotes, which is attributed to Socrates. It goes, the unexamined life is not worth living. So what he was pointing out is that the quality of our life highly depends on the time that we spend with ourselves, going really deep within. And I will actually take it one step further, because examination is one thing, deep reflection, intellectual thinking, and another layer is experience. Experiencing life, who we really are, that we are truly multidimensional being. And another quote came to my mind, which is so powerful, that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's not our darkness, but our light that scares us the most. So if anything that we, touched on today sparked interest or stirred something within you, I would love to support you in your journey. So you can find me online. I have my website. It's KamilaAtman.com. So I would like to, hear from you, even some questions, or maybe just have a chat about what we discussed today as well. And if I could share just one invitation with everyone, is just to be curious about yourself. And the moment you realize that, I will say that again, that you are the creator of your reality, something shifts within you. And all of a sudden, you become this powerful human being. And there are so many ways of experiencing life and finding yourself. So I think we live in a time that is super rich in resources and courses and whatnot. So there's no one path that leads to the mountain peak. So find what resonates with you, learn more about your soul, learn more about yourself, because this is the only one way to live happy and fulfilled life. And yeah, so this is it. This is very rewarding journey. So I'm so happy that I can work with people and be on this path with all of you.
Just grateful that you're giving yourself permission to be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, amazing gift. Thank you, Kamila.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone listening. Be back next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Body's Compass podcast with Matt Sorensen and today's guest, Kamila Atman. Check out Kamila's Instagram at kamila.ataman or her website at www.kamilaataman.com. If you liked this week's episode, please consider giving us a 5-star rating and a warm review. Please share this episode with someone you think it might help. If you want to find out more, give us a follow on Instagram at The Body's Compass. Subscribe to Matt's YouTube at Matt Sorensen Live or swing by healhub.net. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.